Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Temple ISD Board of Trustees held here on November 10th, 2025, beginning at 6 p.m. Our first item is to call to order, and we do have a quorum tonight. Our second item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand and face the American flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item 3 is public comments on agenda items. Has anybody signed up, Beth? No comments tonight. All right. Item 4 is superintendent's recognition. Members, would you please come in front of the dais? Our first item is the recognition of District 54 Representative Brad Buckley.
The 89th legislative session has been a busy one for our elected officials in Texas, and it's also been an impactful one for public education. Triple ISD is grateful for the work our Central Texas legislators have put again through the regular session and 2 special sessions. Tonight we welcome Dr. Brad Buckley, District 54 State Representative. Representative Buckley offers House Bill 2, which provides for a large amount of additional funding for public education. Representative Buckley supports both superintendent and council, and that bill is resolution and he also offers legislation that will
I'll make a few comments and then pass it to Representative Buckley if he'd like to say something, give you some time to think about some things. So I've had a chance to work with Representative Buckley very, very close in the last several sessions. I'll tell you, there's not a single representative in the House or Senate that spends more time working on education than Brad Buckley. And I know that. I'm not just saying that because he's here. I've seen him in action close and afar. I've seen him in very, very difficult spots, but he's always been focused on some of the most key issues: assessment and accountability reform, public education funding, discipline. He has been focused on all of those. His name, whether it's directly attached or indirectly, is around all those bills. He works very close with his constituents. I recently heard that you are filing for re-election. Or you're going to file for re-election, but anyway, I want to thank Representative Buckley for what he has done for children in the state of Texas. I want to thank him for his leadership, and also thank you for your friendship on a personal level. He has always been in contact with us, and along with his other constituents, and he has put in countless hours to help children across Texas, no matter how difficult the position has been that he has been in. So anyway, we are honored to give you this award and recognize you and want to congratulate you.
Thank you, Dr. First of all, thank you very much, Temple ISD. It's really an honor to work alongside you. My wife's been in education for 32 years. Don't tell her that you're doing the math in your head. She started when she was 14. But, she told me, the most important thing I can do is make sure that when you propose policy or policy comes down the pathway, that you talk to those that have to implement it. And Dr. Ott has been a trusted advisor. This board has been engaged along the way to make sure we get it right. And I'm going to have to take you down one peg, though. You were my favorite Temple Wildcat, but now it's Torian York who leads the defense for Texas, the 9-0 Texas Aggies. So anyway, I think that's going well, and we're sure glad Temple produced such a fine young man. But Temple has been there at the forefront of our work on high-quality instructional materials. The funding bill. The school finance system is something that's very difficult. It's very complicated. Dr. Ott played a huge role in making sure we got that right. When I got down to what I could get done, I called Dr. Ott and said, here's what we can do. How should we do it? And then on accountability and assessment, we literally sat in his office just wherever it is, I guess across the hall or behind us or wherever it is, downstairs, wherever we were, and walked through it page by page. And that's the type of impact that he's had on our legislation, because he's trustworthy and he's respected across the state. So this means the world to me. I enjoy my service in the Texas House. But the most important thing we can do today throughout all of this is remember that the adults in this room are making tremendous contributions, but the star in Temple are the students. And, those that get to grace the hallways every day, I know it keeps everyone working hard to make sure they get the best of what they need, because they are the future, and I am so excited to see what they'll accomplish in a great school system like Temple ISD. So thank y'all very much for this recognition. It really means the world. God bless y'all. Thank you.
We're fixing to take a picture.
Our next item is the Temple High School Highlighters, national winner in the Mark of Excellence National Jazz Honor Project.
The Temple Highlighters are the top jazz band at Temple High School and are the oldest high school jazz program in the state of Texas. The Highlighters are also, once again, national winners in the Mark of Excellence National Jazz Honors Project. So you wait right there till I call your name. The Highlighters are one of just 3 high school jazz bands from across the country to earn National Winner honors in the Mark of Excellence Project. National Winner is the top honor presented by the Mark of Excellence, and the Highlighters are now 5-time winners of that honor. The band submitted 3 selections for consideration for the honor: Thad Jones's Big Dipper, Duke Ellington's Addie, and John Clayton's arrangement of Horace Silver's The Jody Grind. Did I say that right? I had to ask the kids how to say those things. Members of the Highlighters who are here to be recognized tonight are, we'll start with the saxophone group, Mallory Gerald, who come on through, Matthew Barfoot, and Amari Dobbins. On trumpet, we have Dianexis Maldonado Ortiz. Yes. And then we have some special awards that the students don't even know about. But Job Angiano, did I say it right? Okay. He won an outstanding soloist on the trombone. Way to go, Joe. Yes, that's awesome. Also,
Can I just say something real quick? Watching you, your solo, you know what I'm going to talk about, Marcus, at the area competition last weekend, you were incredible.
Aw.
Kelly Reed State, you were unbelievable. I mean, you did a
That's
fantastic
awesome.
job.
Also on trombone, we have Deontay Nixon. Go ahead. Noah Pena and Aiden Lampkin. And then in the rhythm section, we had Michael Gary, but he's not here tonight. And then we have Malik Badger, outstanding soloist on the vibraphone. Way to go, Malik. And
Amari Trailer, outstanding soloist on the piano. There you go. Yes, you're. The highlighters are under the direction of Mr. Marcus Duran. Mr. Duran, head on up there. And we also want to recognize him tonight, right, kiddos? Congratulations to all of you for your national recognition, and we're extremely proud of you and the way you represent the heritage of Temple ISD and jazz bands. Congratulations.
Does everyone have a medal? Okay. Well, on behalf of the board, we just want to say that we're so proud of you. This group, everywhere they go, they make a great impression, whether they go to Austin and play, whether they're competing on the national level. People stop me in HEB and tell me good things about the highlighters. So we're just so proud of you. And when you think about the nature of high school and how students are always leaving when they graduate and new students coming in, this group consistently gets top honors, and that would be so hard to do. And that's a testament to the hard work of the new students and the good example of the returning students, and of course a director that brings out amazing things in the students. So your community's proud of you and your district, so thank you.
Okay, parents, we want to make sure you got the pictures you wanted before we let them move. So you stand up, take as many pictures as you want. Everybody smile and look pretty. You look excellent. Everybody good? All right, congratulations, thank you. You got that way, Miss Cheryl. A lot of smileys in that group. I love it.
Our next item is the Alumni Spotlight. Dr. Adams.
Tonight we're going to recognize Mrs. Renee Henry. She's a proud graduate of the Temple High School class of 1978, and we're thrilled to shine our Alumni Spotlight on you. So Mrs. Henry, if you'll join the board. Mrs. Henry also attended Emerson Elementary School and Lamar Middle School during her time in Temple ISD. She would go on to receive a Master's of Science in Social Work from the University of Texas at Arlington and earned a doctorate in education from the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. Mrs. Henry would serve as a department chair and faculty of mental health services and was the first African American to serve as president of the Faculty Senate at Central Texas College. She would retire from Central Texas College after more than 20 years of service, but continues to serve the college as an adjunct faculty and advisor. When asked about her favorite memories of Temple ISD, Mrs. Henry remembers Mrs. Barbara Behrens teaching her the life lesson to define herself so as not to leave that job to others. She also remembers sweeping UIL in band, look at that, with 3s, 1 in concerts, and 3 1s in sight reading under the direction of Mr. Durward Howard. When asked what does a Wildcat mean to you, she said, I was fortunate to be among classmates who set the pace rather than be limited by circumstances. I learned the importance of determination, grit, humility, and grace. Renee Henry will forever be connected to Temple ISD. Her children, grandchildren, and currently her great-grandchildren have or are being educated in the district. She says that has made obtaining and pursuing additional education a legacy for her family. Mrs. Henry and her husband Earl Sr. have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, and 6 of them are Temple ISD alumni, and 2 are still being educated with us today. Thank you, Renee, for the way you represent Temple ISD and for your continued support for our students and our community. We're so pleased to be able to recognize to you tonight. Congratulations.
Renee, it truly is an honor for us to recognize you. You are truly an outstanding alum of Temple ISD. the challenges that you overcame and the barriers that you broke, it's truly remarkable. You're just a few years ahead of me in high school, but we both went to the same place, and it's amazing the type of students that come out of Temple High School, and we're just so proud of you. And again, you're still part of our community here. That means a lot. Thank you. Sure. Would you like to say something?
Honey, will you stand? Jalen, it's our great-grand. Darren, it's our great-grandson. Sean is working in the district. She's our eldest. As much as this means to me, the fact that my daughter recommended me far exceeds any honor that I could receive. Because you know, your children know you, right? They grew up in the house with you. And so for her to think that I was worthy of being honored just floors me. Thank you, guys. Thank you to my friend, Miss Marlene, my co-worker, well, now my boss. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, guys.
I just want to say one thing to you, congratulations, and I know that you do a lot of community service, a lot of hard work, and especially in our churches. Thank you very much for all that you do.
Why don't we first get a picture of you and the board, and then have your family come up here too? Yeah. Yeah, so we'll do this first.
So good to see you. Congratulations. Thank you again for coming. Thank you, sir. Feel free if you'd like to go. It's fine. It's normal. We're used to it. Y'all go celebrate. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for coming. Yes, sir.
Item 5 is executive hires, and I don't believe there's any items tonight. Okay. Item 6 is the board president's report. First item on the agenda is the Temple Education Foundation update, and Kathy Denton, welcome. I believe you got some good news for us.
This is my little clicker. So my name is Kathy Denton. I'm the executive director for the Temple Education Foundation, and I am happy to be here tonight. I love my job. I love being able to give you good information. So I know a lot of you already are very familiar with the Temple Education Foundation, but I also like to make a recap just in case there's someone in the room who is not as familiar. So I'll just kind of go quickly over the mission, the purpose, where we are going, and how we get there. So of course we have our formal mission statement, but I'm just going to go to that second blue area where I say we desire to maximize classroom success for our teachers and our students, and our purpose, like how we do that, is we fundraise for student scholarships and innovative teacher grants to maximize that classroom success. One thing I kind of love about TEF, that is very simple. We're out there raising money for the student scholarships and the teacher grants. So, teacher grants. They get 40% of our annual income, and this last August we were able to give away $80,026. And why you see that number, because you might be going, like 40%. Well, the 40% is what we raise, TEF, but then we had a will left to us, an estate, and one of that donor's desire was to help early childhood development. So we funded the grants for pre-K through second grade through his estate. And so then that freed up our 40% to go and fund the third grade through 12th grade. It's one of our favorite days. We try to keep it a surprise on who our grant winners are. And so we're just out there visiting the campus and surprising them with our grant patrol. So now we come to the 60%. And that is our student scholarships, and so we awarded $134,150 in student scholarships. And then we have last year we were able to add 9 new scholarships. That was a great scholarship season, so to speak. We have 3 kinds of scholarships: a pass-through, which are when they're funded every year; a named scholarship, it's $2,500 up to $24,999. And then we have our endowments of $25,000 and above. So we were just fortunate that we had a lot of people from the community actually reach out having interest in establishing scholarships at TEF. Here are some pictures of our last event, our impact event. That's our scholarship recipient, our scholarship award night. Also when we celebrate our top 20%. So the middle picture is the Turley Construction Science. Turley and Taba went in together. That was one of our new scholarships, and that one focused on construction science major. So here's just a financial snapshot of last year. Our fiscal year ends in June of 2025. And so really with this, I just would say, I want you to see that we have a strong endowment and we have positive year-to-date returns. But I'm going to show you September. So obviously we don't have a lot of movement, like we close it out in June, then the summer months. And so September, what was exciting is now you start seeing some of our fundraising efforts. And especially because our Distinguished Alumni event happened October the 1st. So you start seeing some of that money coming in the door. And so what we're excited to announce is that this was a historic year for us. We were able to raise more than $200,000 with our Distinguished Alumni event. This event is the event that pretty much sets our budget for the year. Other things we do also are important, but this one really is the big one where it kind of lets us see like that 60-40 split. A lot of that will come from this. And so we were able to award, to celebrate Sharon Wilson, Jerry Tyrod Jr., and Perry Cloud. They had a lot of community support. It was really a great night. So we never passed that 200K mark. So this was our first time to be able to do that. And I will say every year after we walk away from a Distinguished Alumni event, we feel like, oh, it can't be any better next year. Like every year, it seems to be a sweet year, sweet celebrations, just really good feel-goods. And then we have another great one. So that is just because there's that many really distinguished alumni from TEF. We have a lot of things to pick from. So we were excited about this night. Then our other fundraising efforts, we have our Century Club parking. We sell 72 parking spots, premier parking spots at $150 each. So we're kind of locked in that it's always going to bring in around $10,000. Then we have the employee giving campaign, and so this is another number that we're very excited about. Last year, this campaign dipped for us. It was like $8,000. It just dipped. And so we thought, well, what can we do to help that number to kind of regain some of that energy, some of that step? And so one thing we did is we got a really cool long sleeve t-shirt. I see one right here. The long sleeve t-shirt might have been the ticket. And so we did like a long sleeve t-shirt. We went into the schools early on just to talk about the employee giving campaign. We also asked Seven Brew to partner with us. They were new in our community, and they said they wanted to do something. We said, like, the campus that has the most participation, can they earn a party? And they, it was a perk. So they gave us a party for 72 employees, and so Jefferson Elementary won that. But what was exciting is it's up to $17,126. So that's another really great number for us this year. And then another small fundraiser we do is this all-star pins, these little sparkly pins. The number's low right now because we just opened the campaign today. And that is like, we ask like families or somebody in the community to buy these pins that show a thankfulness or $10 $25. So that number will protect, we just really kind of set that today. Then our big spring fundraiser, we were doing a tennis tournament for a couple of years, and last year we moved to a car show, and it was our very first time. We were really excited about the way the car show went. The goal was $15K, and we brought in $19,000. And so this is last year's graphic. So we have the save the date for May the 16th. And so we have the same thought, like we would like to see 15 or 16,000 come in with our car show. We have, I just wanted to kind of show you some of our headlines. We felt like we had good coverage in the paper. We love to try to spread the word about TEF and TISD and doing that. So we were able to have a lot of good headlines. So this is just all the headlines. You can also follow us on social media. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about our Friends of the Foundation. So we are this is our third year in. So we, in the past, before we started Friends, the only way you could be involved with TEF was through a sitting board position. But we wanted to really kind of have our tentacles and be out more so in the community. So we started the Friends of the Foundation, and this is pretty much where you can be hands and feet. Like you decide you want to join and be a part. You kind of just tell us things you would like to do, like auction items, photography, I like to decorate tables, whatever it is. And then whenever we get ready to do something, we're like, hey, we're going to do a car show. Do you want to come and do a greeter? And then you're like, oh yeah, that's a great Saturday for me. I think I'll do it. So we started the Friends of the Foundation, and we're just still building that. We have ideas to try to grow that program. So it's not a board position. It's just like you coming alongside us and being those hands and feet. Do you have any questions?
Kathy, I wanted to ask you one thing. On Facebook, I've seen you doing a throwback series. Will you talk about that?
Well, thanks. So Lindsay Macy, I really have to credit her. She has been our social media person, and she loves to go through old yearbooks and just find pictures and then pick them. So it's really just a Lindsay idea that she tries to go back in time. But we do see traction and people being interested in seeing pictures from their reunion years or their graduating years.
Kathy, I just want to say thank you for your hard work and the hard work of the board members and all those involved with TEF. This is important, raising the money for the grants and the scholarships, and both of them impact lives, our students' lives. So thank you so much. And I know this board supports because we have a current and a number of former TEF board members here. So this is close to our heart. It really is. It helps provide things that the school district is not able to do. And so this is truly important.
My pleasure.
Any further questions? All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I hope I didn't.
Item B, resolution to cast votes in the Bell County Appraisal District Board of Directors election. Sure.
Okay, Board of Trustees, this is actually the Board of Directors election for the Bell County Appraisal District, and there's a list of 5 nominees. Due to the size of Temple ISD as a taxing entity, we have 245 votes, in which we split the votes, 123 for Sam Fulcher and 122 for Todd Scott. They both are incumbents. They've served very well for the appraisal district on behalf of Temple ISD, and so we're wanting to put them forward in this resolution.
Members, any questions? It does require approval.
I move to approve as presented.
Motion by Ms. Gowan. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Gaines. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. The motion passes. Thank you. Item C, consideration of approval and acceptance of the annual financial audit report for 2024-2025. Okay. Mrs. Stanford.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Ott. Tonight, we're presenting to you the fiscal year 25 financial audit for your review. We are not going to ask you to approve it just yet because there's been a delay in timelines with the federal government, and our external auditor is going to explain that a little bit better than I can.
So just to clarify, we're just going to have a report tonight, and the approval item will come at a future board meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct. And so over the past few years, we've worked to try to make this report more straightforward to understand and focused on transparency for our community and stakeholders. So before turning this presentation over to our external auditor, I'd like to briefly revisit the purpose and the value of the annual financial audit. First, it's an annual requirement of TEA to ensure compliance with state and federal standards. Second, it's a financial tool for investors and stakeholders. With the recent passage of Prop B and the anticipated bond sales this spring, this audit will help demonstrate to investors that TISD is financially strong, well-managed, and ready for the next phase of our capital projects. The external review component ensures our financial statements are presented accurately and fairly, that our internal controls help protect taxpayer dollars from fraud. This year, we partnered again with Singleton Clark & Company as our external audit firm, and I'd like to thank partner Nathan White and his team for working closely with us throughout this process. Additionally, I'd like to put two people on the spotlight publicly, and I'd like to thank Donna Alleman and Terry Burleson for all the hours that they poured into this report that we like to call an audit report. In fact, I feel like it's kind of a novel. This is certainly a team effort, but without their expertise, it would not be award-winning quality as it is. Nathan. And at this time, I will turn it over to Nathan White for the presentation.
Good evening. As she said, my name is Nathan White. I am the audit partner with Singleton Clark that oversees the audit of Temple ISD. As Brandy was saying, in regards to the board's acceptance of the audit report tonight, so this is the first time I've ever encountered this in my years auditing, but currently the compliance supplement, which dictates how we perform the single audit, which the district requires due to the amount of federal funding that it receives. That's currently still in a draft phase, and that's handled at the federal government. In fact, it's signed, and the seal on the front cover of it is the Office of the Presidency. So until that is settled and finalized, we can't technically issue any single audits. I don't know when that's going to be, given the government shutdown. I suspect maybe December, January, something like that. We're going to ask that you table it tonight, and then you guys, we had to present it tonight because honestly, I got 24 school districts and everybody likes Mondays and Wednesdays. There was never going to be a way that I could present, 25 in the month of January. So that's why we're trying to brief this now, and then hopefully you guys can just accept it as soon as you guys essentially get the green light. So without further ado, we're going to start. You guys should all have a separate leaflet that looks something like this. In the back, it's actually the single audit reports. There we go. It's going to be page 13 in that little leaflet. This is the schedule of findings and question costs. At the top here, we have the summary of auditors' results. The type of auditor's report issued is unmodified. That means that we believe the district's financial statements are materially free from misstatement. We had no material weaknesses identified, no significant deficiencies, and no non-compliance material to the financial statements. If you look down below in the second section there under federal awards, you can see the child nutrition cluster. That was the federal program that we performed the single audit on this year. Again, kind of pending in a way. We know all of the compliance requirements. Generally, they don't fluctuate too much from year to year, and we always do more than we have to anyway, just to make sure that we cover our bases. But so far as the single audit pertains to Temple ISD, we believe the child nutrition cluster as well to be free from any material misstatements. We had no findings of any kind. And you can see that kind of on page 15. For you guys, I think you'd flip one additional page to see the summary there of financial statement findings and federal award findings. And so that's it. Everything looks clean under the hood, so to speak. After this, I got a couple other things I want to touch on real fast. So if you'll flip in your main report, our next stop is going to be in the notes to the financial statements, and that's going to be for you on page 87. And I'll go ahead. Oh, thanks. Okay. This is page 87 in the notes to the financial statements. I want to key in on note disclosure 22 here, implementation of new governmental accounting standard. So over the last half a decade, we've had kind of like a slew of new governmental accounting standards that we've had to recognize. And that's not just school districts, it's cities and counties and everybody. This one is in relation to compensated absences, which the district had previously recorded a liability for. And what that represented was the district has a policy, and if you can see, I don't know if they can see the power, there you go. On page 72, I know they're kind of far apart, so I apologize for anyone following along in the report. But that's the district's compensated absences policy. And historically, the liability represented any potential cash that would leave. I want to say it was employees with the district for 10 consecutive years, and there's some other stipulations, and then there was sort of like pay rates based on how long employees had been here, and then they were retiring, and they were subject, or they could receive cash payments for certain days. But with GASB 101, we're now required to also recognize the liability in relation to any staff state days. And so every full-time employee at Temple ISD and every other school district gets 5 state days every year. And so now we had to kind of calculate the financial impact of what someone's accumulated state days balance is, right? Like Dr. Ott probably has quite a few in the bank, right, of state days accumulated over years of service that went unused. We have to now sort of evaluate that, and that goes into the financial statements, and that is added now to your compensated absences liability. And I can show you that one. I don't have a slide for it, but it'll be in your debt note if you wanted to see a little bit more of that. That's on page 68. And at the bottom of page 68, this is note 8, bonds, loans, and other long-term liabilities. That very last liability under other long-term liabilities. So when we restated for the balance as of July 1st, 2024, the district's liability was $8.6 million. And then we had a slight increase through FY25 to bring that up to $8.8 million. And that just represents everyone's essentially unused or unpaid accumulated compensated absences for all the, like I said, full-time employees in the district. And then we actually apply like a usage rate there to try to reduce the liability a little bit. Next, our last stop for me is going to be on page 48 and 49. This is a 2-page C3 exhibit. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. On the left-hand side there, we have the general fund, and if you peer down toward the bottom of the page, you can see the district added $1,035,754 to fund balance to end at $46,929,825. That represents about 46% of your annual operating expenditures, or, I mean, almost right on the money, 5 months. So which is a great place to be at as far as financial health is concerned. We generally recommend anywhere between 3 and 6 months. So 5 is an ending balance, and you have a lot of assigned and committed portions of that fund balance, certainly, and plans for it, I'm sure. But just in terms of the overall figure, that's a really good spot to be in.
And I just wanted to explain a little bit more about that. We do have to apply the fund balance to our 25-26 operating budget. And so even though Mr. White said that we have 5 months operating expenses, every year our expenses increase. And so it's actually down to 4 months and 3 days. But about that, as you may recall, we had a projection at the end of the year where we projected a deficit of $600,000 to end with. And so that projection included all planned renovations to the Wildcat Stadium, with all work either completed or nearing completion, accounting for the retainage at year end. However, due to timing, as we always have to factor in the volatile economic environment, approximately $1.5 million of the project cost remained outstanding as of June 30th. So even though it appears that we added $1 million to fund balance, we actually have already accounted for these costs going out the door, and so then we would have hit our target of the $600,000 deficit. It's also important to note that this figure of the 1.5, we've already spent 1.2 as of today. And so, like I said, it looks like we have $1 million extra on the books, but that is not the case. It's just due to the timing of the fiscal year. Any questions?
So just for clarification, that's obligated based on the renovations.
Yes,
And it's
sir.
just a matter of the timing of the June 30th fiscal year piece. That amount was outstanding, therefore obligated to be paid after June 30.
Yes, sir. So our operations team already had the work in place. It was just based on the actual construction getting completed and the billing of the construction companies. We could not recognize it before June 30th, even though we knew it was already in the works. And so just for timing, it appears like we've added.
So the outstanding amount was 1.5 million.
And we've paid.
And instead of showing $1 million going into fund balance, you minus the 1.5, that puts us at about where we thought we would be deficit-wise, $500,000 to $600,000 deficit budget. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Page 44 could also kind of help highlight some of this stuff as far as the classifications of fund balance. And I think directly relates to what Brandy's discussing with the $1.5 million and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a figure of 1.476 that shows that it is committed for capital acquisitions and contractual obligations. And so that's just the leftover funds from the tax maintenance note that were 100% committed to the Wildcat Stadium.
Thank you all so much. Members, do you have any further questions? Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Item D is future items of discussion. Dr. Ott.
Okay, tomorrow is a holiday. For those of you, and I know several in this room, Dr. Mayo, Shannon Myers, Bella Casey with the Temple Daily Telegram had a chance to go to the pass and review ceremony today for our local veterans, and it was really exceptional. Our band and our cadets did a fantastic job representing the school district. Very proud of them, and our veterans and their spouses felt honored. It was quite the treat. As I said, tomorrow is our holiday, Veterans Day, and then the 13th, which is Thursday, we actually have a board retreat. We're visiting 2 campuses, Meredith Dunbar and Sampson Howard, and both those principals are here today. I hope I'm not surprising you when I say that. You know about it, right? Yes, smile? Okay. Oh, I see Crystal. There you go. Dr. Kurz, okay. And then November 17th, we have a special board meeting at noon to canvass the election. I think legally you only have to have 2 board members to do that. I'd certainly like for as many of you could be there as possible. It'll be at lunch. It'll be quick. It's one item. Don't anticipate it being anything other than that, but it's to canvass the election results of this last election for Prop A and Prop B. And in both cases, we were successful in that effort. November 18th, Middle School Advanced Academic Parent Night. That is next Tuesday here at the Administration Building at 6 o'clock. That's always a really good event. And then the 19th and 20th are our Policy and Facilities Committee meetings respectively, and then we're off to Thanksgiving. Come back, regular board meeting December 8th. That board meeting usually doesn't have a lot because we're coming off of Thanksgiving, but we're working really hard to load it up for you. The leadership team, they're saving all their items for Christmas. And then December 11th, the board retreat, that is the visioning piece. The last time the board worked together to establish the vision and mission statements, and well, actually vision, mission, and belief statements was in 2018 when I was hired. And so it's time to revisit that. The last board retreat that we had, team building, there were some questions back and forth and responses submitted from board members that that basically revealed that, you know, we need to revisit the vision and the mission of the school district. Things are changing, times are changing, and we need to change directionally to support our students. So this will be a sequel to that meeting. Region 12 will come in and facilitate that session, and hopefully we'll have a product. If we don't, we'll have another meeting. I don't think you rush things like this. We just want to make sure you do it right and it's thoughtful, and we think about our community and our families and our students. And that's all I have. Oh, and then the last thing is you have an additional page that has all of our fine arts important dates, our performances from elementary performances all the way through middle school and high school. It's always a fun time of year to come out and watch our students, choir, band, and so forth, perform, theater. And I want to encourage you to attend as many of those as you possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ott. And also, when I asked, is there any future items of discussion the board wishes to hear at a future board meeting? Okay. Item 7 is consent items. We have 7A through J2. What is the pleasure of the board to deal with these items?
I make a motion that we approve 7A through J2 altogether.
Motion made by Mr. Gaines,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Ms. Gowan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The same sign opposed. The ayes have it. Thank you. Item 8, Human Resources. Dr. Ward? No items. Okay. Item B is Academics. B1, Update on Gifted and Talented Procedures. Dr. Rogers, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Posey, Dr. Ott, and members of the board. Last spring, Dr. Watson, Ms. Armstrong, and myself enrolled in 2 professional developments from Baylor University related to gifted and talented education. And so we were able to participate in those courses for free based on our partnership with Baylor TIP, the Baylor TIP program. And so after completing the courses, the 3 of us met together to share our learning and also to review the Texas State Plan for Education and of the gifted and talented students so that we could identify strengths within our program as well as short-term and long-term opportunities for us to improve on our service model. So in your board packet, you will find the updated district GT handbook for parents and students. And I'd like to highlight just a few key components and updates to that document. So first and foremost, one of the goals was to ensure that our GT model addressed the needs of K through 12 students. So as you may know, we have a GT coordinator that is elementary focused. And so a lot of the materials that we pushed out previously were focused on elementary, but we have gifted students K through 12. And so our desire was to make sure that there's continuity between our service of gifted students after they leave elementary. And so the start for that was to create a document that is K through 12 and not just elementary focused. On page 4, you will see the reference to the state plan that I mentioned, and I'd be happy to share that with you directly if you'd like me to email that to you, or I can have Ms. Boyd or Ms. Moore email that to you as well. On page 5, you'll find the identification flowchart for elementary students. That's not new, but I wanted to just put that in front of you just in case that's something that you are curious about or want to reference in the future. On pages 8 and 9, you'll see specifics regarding elementary and secondary service delivery models. I want to point out to you the addition of the parent advisory group. This was an area that we recognized as a need after we reviewed the Texas State Plan. And so Dr. Watson and Ms. Armstrong worked with our new GT coordinator, Crystal Wiley, to put that in place. So our very first GT Parent Advisory meeting will be held next week on the 17th. And so that will be an opportunity for parents representing every campus in the district, elementary and secondary, not only to learn about our GT programming, but also to give input on how we can better support our students. Additionally, you'll see on page 9.
Dr. Rogers, how many times a year does that advisory group meet?
Well, this will be the first one, so Dr. Watson, how often are you planning to have that team meet? So you'll see on page 9 an update to our middle school services. And so as I mentioned, our GT students in middle school are served through advanced academics, but I think we all know that there are students who are advanced academics, who qualify for advanced academics, but they're not GT. And so they're really getting essentially the same thing. And so we started to brainstorm, what can we do for our students who are GT in middle school beyond just the advanced academics course. And so Ms. Armstrong worked with our librarians at our middle schools, and we've begun just a few months ago to begin to pull those students out as well periodically from, I believe it's each campus is choosing when they're going to pull those students out, but those students now have an opportunity to be pulled for enrichment, and not only for enrichment, but to be collaborating and learning with their gifted and talented peers, as opposed to all of the students that are in advanced courses. And so those students have additional instruction, additional learning opportunities, and those opportunities are facilitated by our campus librarians. And these students will end the year with a showcase featuring their learning at the end of the year. And so that's another great experience that our students need and don't necessarily have at every campus, to be able to showcase their learning, similar to the showcases that we see at Travis Science Academy. So those are just a few adjustments that we were able to make immediately upon reviewing the Texas State Plan, and our goal is to continue to identify opportunities for us to improve on the services and the delivery of our gifted and talented service model K through 12 throughout the district. And so in addition to that, Dr. Watson and Ms. Armstrong, I'm sure, will be here with you probably within the next few months to share the advanced academics update, which will also highlight some of the accomplishments of our GT program. So does anybody have any questions?
Any questions, members? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Oh, Dr.
I have one question. Were there any changes or anything with regards to English language learners or EBLs in terms of the gifted?
Not that I can recall immediately. I'd have to go back to the plan and review it. But off the top of my head, I didn't.
Then we'll make sure the parent groups have representation from that particular group as well.
Yes, if they don't already, it's a little bit of a struggle to get everyone from every campus, but
Right.
I think especially with us having Garcia in the group, that we'll have representation,
Okay.
but I'll verify that as well.
Thanks.
All right, item 2 is campus improvement plans. Dr. Adams.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to just share a little bit about each area that our campuses are focused on in order to improve academic achievement and ensure high-quality instruction is happening in every classroom. And so all our campus leaders are here tonight, and I appreciate them giving of their time as we kind of walk through this. Just a reminder, this year our theme as campus leaders is Leading for Impact. And our leaders were challenged this summer to really look at their student achievement data and their processes on the campus to identify areas that they wanted to improve upon. And each campus team identified what we call WIGs, or wildly important goals, things that are critical to improving student achievement. We've got our own little language as campus leaders, and we've created improvement. We're not actually making hair, no, but that would be great. And I think these folks could come up with some fun stuff for us to wear. Yes. And so we're really focusing on targeting these specific areas and positively impacting student achievement. And so my goal, my presentation is really around what are the WIGs, the wildly important goal that each campus has for you. And the leaders are here if you have a question as well. So we'll start with our little friends, the Meredith Dunbar Panthers. And so for the last couple of years, Dr. Kurz has been focused on building teacher capacity around the area of differentiation, right? A 4-year-old that's been in school for 6 months is different than someone that just turned 4. And so really focusing on making sure that they differentiate for all learners. They call it their Panther Pride Instructional Strategies, which stands for Plan with Purpose, so that we don't just have centers, but we have workstations. Those little 4-year-olds are so precious when they're working academically. They focus on aggressively monitoring by tracking kids. They nurture language. They want kids to think deeply, and so they really focus on what are the questions they're asking our littles so that they're thinking and talking out loud, focusing on hands-on writing, engaging their minds. They've really taken a deep dive into conscious discipline to really support kids in regulating themselves instead of the teacher doing that for them, and then responding intentionally with that differentiation. And they really build their coaching and support around their teacher capacity through targeting the delivery of that differentiation. And there's just some cute little friends doing all the things at pre-K. And we'll be so excited to show you all this in person on Thursday. At Wheatley Alternative Education Center, they continue to focus on supporting students through restorative practices. Carl's kind of the leader of that work, but also goal setting. He tracks attendance, grades, work, which is classwork, not outside work, but he probably talks to kids about that as well, and behavior on a weekly basis. And he's really challenged his teachers to lead through professional learning. And so this is their last PD day. They all got a little special award from Mr. Pleasant because these were their teacher leaders for that day. Hector P. Garcia. Hector P. Garcia is really focused on internalizing and delivering the new math and reading curriculum. You're gonna hear that a lot because we are implementing Bluebonnet for the first year, and so these folks have worked tirelessly to make sure they understand the curriculum, that their teachers know how to really understand what they're supposed to be teaching, that they're prepared, they rehearse with their staff, and so you're gonna hear that trend over and over at all the campuses because that's really the focus of our elementary principals this year. But Hector P. Garcia is also really focused on closing that achievement gap, making sure that the Domain 3 scores are really strong, and so really analyzing that data. And here's an example of a teacher actually demonstrating with her team on how to teach one of the problems in math, and there's the kids doing a hands-on activity as well. For Kennedy Powell, they call their instructional focus, the KP Core 4 instructional strategies, and that's aggressive monitoring, high-level questioning, student discourse, and most importantly, visible thinking. Can you see what kids are doing or what they're speaking about? When we think and we say, when we speak, that's our thinking, and when we write it down or show our problem solving, that's our thinking. So they really focused on that, those core strategies that they were focused on last year that showed them such great success, but how do they embed that into the lesson design with our new curriculum? So we don't want teachers to throw away those tools. We want them just to incorporate them into the new curriculum. And they're also very focused on closing the achievement gap, focusing on their advanced learners as well as their special populations to make sure that all students are achieving at high levels at KP. And there's just their cute little friends, and they are doing a little fun experience, again, with the hands-on, having the kids solve the problems instead of the teacher do that for them. For Sampson Howard Elementary, I love that little smile up there. Dr. Thomas has been very focused on building teacher capacity. She's got a large staff that she works with over there, and so just continuing to build those first and second year teachers in their capacity through action coaching. She's one of very dedicated to having practice clinics on campus, making sure that teachers build that capacity across a large group. And then she's very focused on internalizing, implementing the new curriculum. There's a group of teachers there really focused on reflecting on how their implementation is going so far and making some adjustments. And there's a little friend up there doing his math, and he is smiling. Scott Elementary, again, you're going to see another that theme going through as well. We want to make sure that we're understand the curriculum and we're delivering it so that it's at the level that we need it to be for students to close those achievement gaps. Again, we're very focused on ensuring all students achieve, so it's not just one student group, but we're leaving others behind. We want to make sure all our students are hitting that. And so there's some friends doing their math right there, and that table of the teachers right there is actually Miss Williams' office. She hosts planning with her teachers right in her office where she's got coffee and candy and all the things in there. But they're also focused on tracking student progress over time. Then for Western Hills Elementary, the Road Runners are focused on the implementation of the Road Runner 5. Again, those things that brought them success, how do they incorporate that into the curriculum? And so they really focus on making sure that they monitor students so that all students are doing the learning, ensuring they have students speaking through discourse, really focused on problem solving and independent practice. And they call it student engagement, but basically they mean everybody does the work. At every Roadrunner classroom. And so there's some of our students up at the top doing some of their math activities with their friends.
Dr. Adams, can you explain to the board, I've been out on a couple campuses and I've seen instructional, I was just at Kennedy Powell not too long ago and I saw a cadre of instructional coaches from other campuses, and they were walking in and out of classrooms. I believe they were looking at math instruction.
Yes.
But we've been sending different groups to different campuses, and then I also understand we have some school districts in the area that are interested in coming over and looking at classrooms, whether it's Florence, ISD, Corsicana. I think there's another one too, and I'm trying to think of who.
TA's coming next week.
So kind of talk to the board about that. What are our instructional coaches doing when they're going from campus to campus? What are they looking for? What are they trying to learn? How are they trying to develop and so forth?
Sure. So we started this work in the summer with what we called the Lead for Impact series, and we asked our principals, instructional coaches to really get a strong understanding of the product itself, the curriculum itself, and then what would be the implementation. And so Bluebonnet actually comes with a walkthrough document of what are the implementation things. What should we see kids doing? What should we see teachers doing? So our coaches, led by Dr. Watson, do different walks. So they go to different campuses and they observe. It's really great for them to see different things at different schools so they can see the level of implementation. It helps us to build expertise amongst the instructional coaches. Our principals also participate in those to build their expertise so they can see those things in action, and we can identify any gaps that we see. So what's our next step, our next level? Region 12 is our product a supervisor. They kind of help and support us with that training, and they walk with us as well to give us their expertise. But again, it's just making sure that we all understand what's the implementation supposed to look like, what's the level of rigor, how do we make sure that we keep it on grade level and we don't lower it, and then how do we support our teachers in really developing that, because every single one of the teachers wants to do an amazing job. They are very dedicated to it. They like the curriculum, but it's just a lot when you're trying to learn it, and so it's just building that expertise. Did that answer your question, or do you have another question? Okay. All right, so in terms of Bonham Middle School, Bonham is really focused on just continuing the work that they did last year, and so really focusing on ensuring that they give consistent feedback in learning, so all students are doing the work, but the teacher's giving them feedback on how they're doing, as well as making sure that they are continuing to focus on their internalization so that the teachers have a really strong understanding of the lesson design and how to ensure that we keep it rigorous for students. And here's some friends, and they are doing some work in the library. If you haven't been to the library, it's pretty amazing, right, Mr. Hobbs? They're very focused on ensuring that they see independence in the students, and they have those the students, and they also really embed those EB language supports for this campus because we have quite a few newcomers here. For Lamar Middle Schools, Lamar Middle School really has two focuses. The first was they wanted to decrease misbehavior. So there was, when Mrs. Rhodes went to that campus, there was quite a few the student discipline data was a little higher than we would like it to be. And so one of their specific targets was to implement the Bearcat Rise, which stands for, I wrote it down, it stands for responsibility, integrity, service, and excellence in all that we do. And so they really focus on how to build that. And I would tell you that their office referrals and instances of misbehavior have significantly decreased with their focus on this. And the campus is very well managed, and students are in class doing what they're supposed to do, which is great. And then they're continuing to focus on rehearsal. They have quite a few teachers that are new to the profession, and they want to build their capacity, so they're prepared to go into the classroom. And so they're continuing to work on their PLC processes so that teachers are prepared and ready. If you've never taught math before, what an amazing opportunity to have math teachers demonstrate for you how this would look and what you should focus on so that you're prepared to go into the math. I wish I would have had that as a first-year teacher, but I didn't. But that's the work that Lamar is focused on. Then for Travis Science Academy, and Dr. Bloomquist couldn't be here tonight, she's ill, but she again also wanted to focus on school-wide behavioral expectations and really parent communication to reduce their student behavior. They weren't happy with their instances of discipline. I will tell you that so far her referrals have decreased by 30%. And October is a rough month for referrals, right, everybody? Yeah, that's when the behavior gets up in October. Kids get comfortable. And so they were down 30%. So they were super proud of their wildly important goal, and they're going to continue to work on that. And they've also had 96% of their students who are having some issues or instances have a parent conference. And that's really amazing for middle school. So they've really focused on that parent conference as well. That's just some data she gave me. They also really want to build teacher capacity. Their focus is around the kids showing the work and providing their visible thinking. So problem solving, showing text evidence, all the ways that kids can tell you what they know about stuff, really focusing on their learning and giving that feedback to students. And then at Temple High School, Dr. Mayo has been focused on kids opting into learning. He wants every class to look like that band performance, because those kids are locked in, as the kids would say, and he wants that to happen in every one of his classes. So he's really been focused on ensuring the expectations of kids are that all kids are doing the work in class. And then they have really focused on their lesson design, so making sure that they're requiring all students to do rigorous tasks. It's not just if you're in an advanced class you have rigorous work. No, every class should have rigorous work. And so there's an example of his PLC schedule, that PLC plan that he's reworked and is working with his campus to do. But I think every class should be like band, right? They perform at high levels, don't they? And then lastly, Fred Edwards Academy. So Tricia wanted to focus on building literacy amongst her students. These are students that often are behind a little bit when she's got to catch them up. That's their focus, right? And so up at the top, you see a literacy group where the kids are reading just for fun. They're reading, and they're doing a bunch of different reading strategies. Her newest project is 5 for 5. Am I saying that right? And so the kids read something they're passionate about for 5 minutes. And that may sound like really short time, but if you're talking about a kid who really has never read for fun at all, it's amazing. And they're getting excited about it because they're reading about a car they want to buy, or a job they'd like to have, or something they'd like to eat, right? They get to choose something, and so that's something little. Always just trying to chunk it and entice them to do it, right, Tricia? Yeah. And then she also focuses on daily attendance, which makes Brandy really excited because she wants the money to come in with attendance. But this is one of their incentives. They do weekly incentives for attendance if they're over 85% or they got perfect attendance that week. And right here, the kids are making mums for homecoming, which is always fun. Okay. Lastly, we have 3 campuses that we also have to focus on based on the closing the gaps domain. And so we have 3 campuses that currently are in comprehensive support, have that label from the state. And basically what the state has told us is we want to improve student performance in the closing the gaps domain. This is a federal focus, right? And so we have chosen to focus on improving Jefferson, Thornton, and Ray Allen through intensive curriculum and instruction improvements. And we have the support of the Strong Foundations Grant, which is how we are able to pay for all the extensive training and supports that we have provided for teachers and for leaders. And so I would at your seats, you have a copy of the targeted improvement plan. I'm going to walk through that just a little bit and let you answer any questions if you have, and then I'll let you move through the process. So the federal identification process identifies schools who have a concern in the area of closing the gaps, which is domain 3. And it looks at all 14 sub-POPs, not just the 2 that the state requires. Campuses that have a CSI identification are required to, have some training. They have to develop a team, and then they have to develop and implement a targeted improvement plan, and really focus also on leadership, building the leadership practices of the campus principal. And so what you have in front of you is our targeted improvement plan that we are submitting for your approval tonight, or for your consideration tonight. And it's focused on us implementing the new curriculum and ensuring that we're building have the instructional supports in place, so that students are receiving high quality instruction every day, and making sure that it's on grade level, so it's aligned to the expectation of the state assessment. And so again, closing that achievement gap for all students. On the second page, you'll see a list of the capacity building. Capacity building is just all the ways that we're making us smarter. So there's areas that I'm attending training as the principal manager, what the principal is being asked to do, assistant principals, instructional coaches, and the teachers. So we're focusing on building the capacity of everyone in the building, and then we are required to identify very specific milestones. So you'll see that we have milestones not just for this year, but next year. It's a 2-year process for every campus. And so Ray Allen is in there because they've made progress, but this is their second year as required. The other 2 campuses are in their initial year. And so you have very specific things that we're supposed to do to ensure that we build capacity. So you have very specific milestones there. Resource deployment, we have to make sure that we are very specific about teachers having the materials they need so that they can deliver the curriculum daily. We have implementation checkpoints. Those are those learning walks that Dr. Ott was just talking about, where we're walking through the campuses to see what the level of implementation is, so that we can determine what are the next steps, or what areas do we need to support the campus with through training. In fact, we had some walks a couple of weeks ago, and we had a principal ask us for some additional support in the area of reading. And so Dr. Watson was able to organize that and get that in place for her. We also have coaching support. We have a product advisor that comes on campus and helps work with teachers and PLCs, helps coach our coach, observes our instructional coaches, that's their coaching teachers. So a lot of wraparound support for the campus to ensure that they're successful. And then lastly, we have checkpoints for our student assessment. So how are we tracking to see if students are making progress? And then the last area in the plan is performance management. There's someone from my team that's on site weekly to just check in with the principal, observe classrooms, observe PLCs. I do a monthly check-in if I'm not the weekly check-in for this campus. And then we have school support meetings just to support them overall. Are there any questions about the targeted improvement plan?
Members, do y'all have any questions on this?
It is 2 years. The identification lasts for 2 years. So even if you do amazing and you no longer have any concerns with your data, you have to conclude it for 2 years. So Ray Allen made extreme progress, but we're still required to do it for 2 years. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the public hearing on targeted improvement plans for Jefferson, Ray Allen, Thornton Elementary Schools. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to come up and speak on this, please come forward now. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Next item, consideration of approval of targeted improvement plans for Jefferson, Ray Allen, and Thornton Elementary Schools. This is an action item.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mrs. Alexander. seconded by Mrs. Cook. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, and I also want to publicly thank the principals for being here tonight and all the hard work that they do to improve student achievement for the district.
Thank y'all very much for everything y'all do for the kids. And thank y'all for showing up tonight, too. I know it's.
It's okay if they leave, right?
Oh, yes, please do, yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Our next item is facility and operations. Mr. Boyd, no items tonight? All right. Okay, that's what's coming up.
I told you.
Yeah. Item D is finance, Mrs. Stanford. Stanford, item 1, consideration of approval of the 2025 tax roll per section 26.09 Texas Property Tax Code.
Thank you, Mr. Posey. I guess nobody wants to listen to the tax roll tonight. I wouldn't either. But unfortunately, or fortunately, over half of our funding typically comes from from property taxes, and so this is an important topic to kind of understand. The Texas Property Tax Code, Section 2609E, says that every year we must present to you the tax roll for approval, just to state that we fully understand what we've been presenting. And so the presentation in front of you, and it should have been included in your board book, I'm going to walk you through kind of the highlighted parts just to kind of grasp an understanding, because these are statements that honestly, every year I have to scratch my head for a moment just to try to figure out what they're trying to tell us. So on page 1, there is a TISD tax levy, and it is located off to the left-hand side, 3/4 of the way down, highlighted in blue. And it is stating that the property taxes that we should collect for TISD within properties within our boundary is $84 million. Now, it does say approximate next to it, which is typically something that we don't normally see, but because the tax roll was finalized before our election results were ready, that's why it's listed underneath approximate. However, they did use the property tax rates that were part of Prop A and Prop B. And so the tax roll does not change. There is no additional statements that are going to go out to our taxpayers on behalf of Temple ISD for this. Underneath that, we've talked a lot in the past about the tax increment reinvestment zone. And so that total levy that I was just telling you about of $84 million, that includes all of the properties that are located within the zone. So we are a pass flow through for that. We are going to collect, it's projecting $14 million. We are going to turn around and cut that check right back to the city of Temple. However, the state of Texas will pay us back to make us whole on that. So there's nothing to be afraid of there. If you will turn to page 2, if you're looking in the board book or the one on the screen, this lists all the property exemption categories and the corresponding exemption dollar amounts. So if it's homestead, if it's disabled veteran, over 65, these do include the higher exemption amounts that were approved by voters in the November election. So for the general taxpayer that owns a home, this includes the $140,000 exemption. For our over 65 and disabled population, this does include the $200,000 exemption. So the taxable value loss that we are going to see from these exemptions is $3 billion. This is active or static, which means this is the total, this is essentially what we cannot tax on today that we know of. Let's see. Page 3 breaks down each of those categories that we just talked about, but all the property categories. This shows you like single-family residences, multifamily residences, and this shows you how much of our taxable value breaks into each portion. And so it shows a net taxable value of $7.6 billion, which will align back to, if you wanted to flip back to page 1, you would see that figure in there. The next page is our effective rate assumption. This is the one that I had to scratch my head on and go back and reread, honestly. What this is it compares this year's figures to last year's figures. So this shows everything new. So at the very top, it'll say total new value market. That number I did not highlight. But what that's showing is that represents all new construction and major property additions for 2025 that have occurred. This is important because we're looking at our schools, adding new classrooms to them. We're projecting out for enrollment. And so this is a number that operations and budget, finance department will really have to keep our finger on just to kind of see where we're at with the student services department for projecting budget enrollment in the future. Additionally, underneath that, it says total new taxable value. So this is the portion of that growth that we saw that is subject to taxation. This represents actual real growth and not just inflation. Now, towards the middle of the page, it says total exemption value loss. This number is $570 million. So to put this into perspective, that number used to be $48 million last year. The reason why, or the sharp increase, is due to Senate Bill 4 and 23, which is the homestead exemption increases, and the state is supposed to reimburse us to make us whole for those exemption amounts. So, to kind of explain this, I went over page 2 a minute ago, and I said there was $3 billion loss in exemptions. That is supposed to represent the whole pie of tax collections. The $570 million, to put it into perspective, is how much those exemptions grew from last year to this year to show that exemption pie got larger when you look at it. I used the word pie instead of bucket. I know HR will be happy about that one. So, next you'll see data on the average homestead value, which I think is also important. This first category, it lists category A, that is on single-family residences. You'll notice it says the average homestead exemption is $145,000. We all know that the general residence is $140,000, but that shows us that there is more properties in these Temple ISD boundaries for over 65 and disabled to make that average homestead exemption increase to show it at $145,000 to balance it out. The next number underneath that, it's just combining farm and ranch land into that number, and so it just kind of says the exact same thing. The most important numbers is on the next page, and the very top of it says the median homestead exemption, and it says $140,000. This is important to note that any changes that have happened have been systemic, meaning driven by the state policy of homestead exemptions. That is why we've seen all of the growth in exemptions. It is not from local market fluctuations. And then the last highlighted section at the very bottom shows that within our boundaries, 111 properties were protested. Out of that, they have granted and awarded value of 111, that is how many they have granted and awarded out of the protest filed. And so the original market value of those properties was $37 million, and it decreased down to $22 million as in what's taxable to us for the district's net taxable value. I know that's a lot of figures. The key takeaway is that the homestead value increase was passed by taxpayers. Our average deduction on homestead exemption for our property taxes for the ISD is $145,000. All of this is driven by either new buildings and growth and by the exemption. Any questions?
Members, any questions? This does require approval. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Mrs. Myers, seconded by Ms. Gowan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign opposed. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Item E is Student Services. Item 1, Cybersecurity Audit. Welcome, Mr. Willis.
Thank you. Mr. Posey, Dr. Out on the board, I want to take a few minutes to go over our cybersecurity plan. We'll kind of show where we started, where we are today, and then we had assessment that kind of gave some feedback on which direction we should be headed. So in 2023, we had your support to create a cybersecurity initiative. In that cybersecurity initiative, we worked on improvements for managed detection and response, Duo multi-factor authentication, ICE is what we call Identity Services Engine, AMP, Secure Endpoint Protection, and Cisco Umbrella. There's a slide for each one of those. We'll go through a little bit of what they do for us now and some numbers that correlate that data. Cisco Talos is our managed detection and response. They provide 24/7 coverage of our network. The numbers here are based on this calendar year from January till now. They've reported about 121 high-level reports where they contact us for recommendations on what action to take. Average mean time for an investigation is about 30 minutes. So from the time they see an incident to the time they put remediation to it takes about half an hour. And this year we've had 4 high-priority incidents. Those are incidents that are critical to the district and to the network. At that point, they have a phone tree that contacts our staff. If for some reason we don't answer, whether it's during the day, at night, 3 in the morning, if we don't answer, we have what we call playbooks set up that they can take action. They can pull devices off the network. They can go as far as shutting the internet completely down on our behalf, and then contact us in the morning, let us know what the threat was and how we want to move forward. That way it mitigates that threat and keeps us from spreading during the early morning hours overnight. Gradient Cyber does the same thing for us. They do it for our Microsoft products and our cloud products like Google. Here's kind of a breakdown of what they've done over the same calendar year. So you have about 451 events there between January and October. So that's averaging, more than quite a few a month, 10 or 15 so a month, that they're investigating those, and they have the same things. They have the playbooks. They can contact us. High is, what you don't see here is the reports that they remediate on their own. They're constantly scanning files, scanning devices, and things that they can remediate. That's kind of like what we call low hanging. They take care of those without contacting us. These are the ones they actually contact us on, want to give us recommendations, and then give us the final say on what we do for taking action. MFA, multi-factor authentication, we use Cisco Duo. We have Duo installed for 1,380 users. In the past 180 days, there have been over 9,000 authentications, and about 800 of those were denied by Duo, meaning someone could have been impersonating your contact or your information trying to log into district resources. But because of MFA, we were able to detect those threats and keep them from getting access. ICE, Identity Services Engine. This is a network protection. What we do is we set controls in place so that devices and/or users can't connect to our network. For hardware, we take what we call MAC addresses, a physical address. That address has to be loaded onto our network and saved within this engine. If it recognizes a device that's not there, it denies contact for the network. That goes for wireless or wired. If someone wants to take a device that's not allowed in ICE and plug it into one of our network drives unknowingly, it'll block that device from accessing resources. Same thing for users. If you're not in what we call Active Directory, if you're not in there and you try to contact our network using some other credentials of a user not there, then that's also denied. Since we've implemented, we've put in over probably 57, close to 60,000 different devices. That could be from during campus refreshes throughout the years, but currently serving about 60,000 logged devices, so that if any device outside of those 60,000 try to connect, they won't be able to. And then that's just kind of a breakdown of the different devices, Apple and Windows, but the one to be alarmed about is the 54%. That's the unknown. Those are devices that have tried to access the network, and we've denied that 54% of devices.
Has there been any breaches detected on devices that aren't computers? So for example, our cameras, our thermostats, anything like that, does that come through this as well?
Let's come through this. Anything on our network, cameras, wireless access points, if we have any cell phones.
Has there been attempts on those devices?
Right. None successful, but there has been attempts.
Wow.
And that goes as far as anything we put on network, if it's HVAC controls or anything that we put on network going forward. They do attack anything that has a surface to the network or to the internet. AMP Secure Endpoint. This secures our actual endpoints, our ThinkPads, our Chromebooks that we put in the hands of our staff and users. This is scanning all day, all night, 24/7. You can see some of the stats there. We have it on 1,245 computers that are staff, and it has scanned about 94.8 million files and logged about 10 million connections. So any connection that it sees, it's constantly scanning those files that may have phishing, malware, or any type of virus attached to it. Kind of like back in the day when we had some anti-antivirus. Think of it as antivirus protection that's on the physical device that's constantly scanning for threats. And all these tools that I mentioned, they all feed back into Cisco Talos so that they're seeing this live as it's happening. And that's what helps remediate within 30 minutes if they see something happening. Cisco Umbrella, this is another layer of security. This protects us on the outside at the internet level, where phishing attempts may come in or malware may come in. As you can see here, there's been about 40 million web requests daily. That's kids or staff using the internet, going out to any www. Every time you hit enter, that runs through Cisco Umbrella. It checks it for validity, makes sure it's secure before it gives access to the network. So this whole approach is kind of layered approach. As you can see, we kind of start with the 24/7 approach that has, we're in an industry that's not at work all the time. We have big breaks coming up. That's when threats happen. So it gives that 24/7. Umbrella protects us at that internet layer. Then we come down into the user layer with the endpoint devices and the duo, the multi-factor authentication. So it's kind of security within layers. Where we are today, this next section, every 2 years we do a cybersecurity audit. Next two sections I've broken into 2 slides. I started with one where I could talk about all the great things we were doing that they found for us, but that could take quite a while. So what I did do is break it down into kind of like district findings of what we want to do going forward. They found areas that we could strengthen. This sit there on the right, least privileged access model. That's giving users access to the things that they need, and kind of like no more than just that. Strengthen that password policy. I'll go into a little bit more about that. We have a pretty good policy for the staff. We do 12 characters. Got to have 3 or 4 controls in place, including upper, lower, alphanumeric, and a special character. And then they said we could review our users and group objects. So we have users come and go over the years, and some of those don't always get removed or disabled. So we're going to tighten up on that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. Secure trusted access, especially for those secure areas like within Skyward, places like that, securing those to where we maybe start setting just separate passwords for that so that only secured users can get to those resources. And then retention policies. Not uncommon, especially with the cloud. We have a lot of data that's out there. We don't really go back and remove that data. If an employee leaves, it's kind of just disable that account and that data sits. So kind of strengthen that and eliminating that threat factor, that vulnerability surface is another thing they pointed out. This slide here is more for department actions. We kind of took some of the things they said and kind of put some risk level to it. These here we can do within our department. That doesn't include going to other departments and working with other departments to secure those other controls. So we have privileged accounts within our department and within the district that has certain access levels. Some of them kind of get set up as over the years, maybe as a Band-Aid to kind of get someone access that they need, because maybe it was due at that time, but then it doesn't go back and get cleaned up. So then that access just kind of hangs out there. So we'll start reviewing those. Some accounts have password not required attributes set. There's some things that you can set without a password within our own systems, but they've identified several that did connect to some, not critical, but some important resources that had those attributes set over the years. Non-existent and ineffective account privilege separation, same thing there. That's kind of going back to the user least privilege model. If you don't need access to it, then we should be removing those permissions. And then there were some users that was there that could allow devices to connect to the domain or to the network. So we're looking at those and making sure that even within my own department, only certain users that really need that type of access gets it. It's been kind of over the years, we've noticed that if you're in technology, you need all the access, right? But pertaining to your job description or your job function, there's some level of access you truly do not need. So we'll start eliminating those and scaling down the permissions rights within our own department. So that brings us to kind of where we're headed. To address some of those things we talked about, we'll be working with departments, campuses, and identifying resources where users need access and permissions. That will help us with our user account retentions. When I talked about some of the users that we have that leave, that we may be unaware of, we've gotten better at, but as they leave and come, making sure those accounts get updated and removed when they leave the district. And then going along with that, making sure our storage and retention policies align with what we want to do with their data. That goes as far as emails. There's ways we can store emails in case there's some type of legal for it that we may need later, keeping it for 7 years or so. But then there's some data out there that we have retention on that's been in district for many years. And it's just there waiting to be used as a threat against us. Really has no pertinent reason for being on the network anymore. We'll start identifying those policies and making sure our controls align with what the district decides. One thing we're working on as a department that will involve all parts of the district is kind of incident response for technology. So in the event that we do get breached of some sort, or we have to take the network down, what is that incident response plan? We're a smaller team that serves a lot, so we want to make sure we have a plan in place that everyone knows their place in that plan and what they need to do, whether it's calling, contacting Dr. Otter, contacting communications. What is that plan? Who's going to be that spokesperson, and how do we remediate? And that also helps us going forward, so that we have staff turnover. There's something in place that the staff coming on can easily be updated and trained on those procedures. And then the other one is storage cloud backups. I'll speak to Microsoft OneDrive and Google Cloud. It's perceived that they're backups, but they're truly access. They're created to give you access to those files where you have internet connection. But in the event that something happens to us, say Microsoft or Google, some type of files get corrupted, they tell you that they're not a backup service. So as we do backup things on our internal network that we have on premises, like Skyward and some of our district shares, the cloud backups we've been relying on Microsoft to just say that they're going to stay up. So we'll be looking at cloud backups to see and identify what data in the cloud we need to start creating backups for. So if something happens in the cloud, we can retain that data and not be at a loss. And then, as always, our biggest attack surface is the human factor. So going forward, we'll always continue to train our users, give them education. We do phishing simulations throughout the year, and just try to promote a culture that's built on security and proper internet and network use. Any questions?
Members, any questions? Appreciate this work. It's sort of sobering, too.
It's interesting for sure.
It is. Thank you so much for putting all this together. Thanks for all your work. And now, intruder detection audits. Mr. Hockenberg.
Good evening. And so our last audit report today is the intruder detection audit. And I will also say about with Mr. Willis and the emails that the department sends, and I do take enjoyment in calling him and saying, "You tried to get me, but I saw this one." So it's so our intruder detection audit. There's three parts of it. This is from TEA requirement. Region 12 is contracted, and they come to each campus throughout the school year and perform these audits. There are three phases. The first one is the intruder access, and this is where they try to gain unauthorized access into the building. And then phase 2, the exterior door audit. So then they check to see if the doors are propped open, if they were unlocked, or if doors were broken. And then the last phase is the door logs, making sure that the door checks that we're required to do weekly are up to date and we have the proper documentation. So far this year in the fall, we've had 3 campuses that have gone through the audit. We've had Wheatley, Bonham, and Lamar. And so for phase 1, the unauthorized access into the building, all 3 campuses, the inspector was unable to get into the building with access to unauthorized. Phase 2, the exterior door audit. The one campus that had a door that had 2 doors unlocked, and one of those were propped open, was Bonham, and that was in the construction area of the campus. And so we worked with the contractors of the company, and we made some adjustments, got the metal gate and some other barriers. And then later that week, we talked with TEA, and they said that while the door may be unlocked, still within that on the outside with those barriers, that we have satisfied the intent of the law, and so that while that still remains open, we are still denying access into the main building. And then the last one, phase 3, the door logs, when they checked all our documentation, they were all up to date.
All right. Any questions? Thank you very much. Item F is board committee reports. The policy committee meeting on October 29th, 2025 was canceled. The next committee meeting will be Wednesday, November 19th at 4:30 p.m. Facilities committee meeting on October 30th, 2025. That meeting was also canceled. And the next committee meeting is Thursday, November 20th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. There have been no further agenda items tonight. We are finished. Thank y'all very much for attending.